The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 years, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Josh Shigala from the Standard.io.
The early bird makes love to the worm.
Ben Ark from LN Bits.
Hello all.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one, the price of Bitcoin is down. And maybe we know why. That's right, we've got breaking news because everything important happens on Friday. Bybit exchange hacked. Over $1.4 billion in Ethereum-related tokens drained. A hacker took control of an Ethereum cold wallet on the Bybit exchange on February 21st, allegedly stealing over $1.4 billion in funds in the process. It's been announced on Twitter saying that if any team can help track the stolen funds, it'd be appreciated. They also say that the hacker can't sell the Ethereum for USDC or USDT because it will get frozen by Circle or Tether. So this might cause $1.46 billion selling pressure from Ethereum. For Bybit to cover the customer Ethereum, they'd have to buy 1.46. So the price might actually go up. Josh Shigala, what do you think about the Bybit hack and the breaking news that always seems to happen on Friday?
I'm always worried when exchanges offer everything cheap, free this, free that, $5,000 credits if you join now. You get free $5,000, yada, 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 because we ran an exchange for many years and it's bloody tough. You're getting cut. You're a massive honeypot. You're always getting looked at. Now, a so-called cold wallet seems like they would know, who the perpetrator is. Like, it's the uncle. Like, that's the thing. It's someone close to you, and so because to get to the cold wallet, you need, if it's truly cold, you need physical access. So I don't buy that they had it cold, and this is always the trick of running an exchange. You don't want customers, yeah, fair, why is it taking so long? Because there's this anxiety when you hit withdrawal and it takes 10 minutes, it takes an hour, it takes a day. The longer that period is directly correlated with the amount of anxiety and feedback your customer service reps will get. So to lower that, you want to have cold wallets not so cold, slightly lukewarm. So it's easier to access large swaths when you're making moves. So generally speaking, I don't believe that this was a cold wallet. They probably got lazy and got sick of moving stuff off of a cold wallet into a hot wallet. So I think they probably had something that was a little bit more lukewarm. And so there's two scenarios: lukewarm wallet, and that was then an international perpetrator who they don't know, or truly cold wallet and they know who the heck it is. But one point, it's also weird that this guy is so greedy that they took everything out of it, like so much, rather than just, skimming a couple of mil and just getting on. Because these hackers, right, if they took a couple of mil, Bybit would probably just shut up about it and not say it because their reputation hit's going to be massive. And the hacker would have been pretty as sitting on 2 mil. Instead, he's going to be hunted until the rest of the time. We're going to follow these coins to the rest of the time. They'll be frozen. It'll be impossible to move. And it causes chaos in the whole market. So by the time it's just stupid. But yeah, that's my take.
I know it sounds absurd, but I'm still excited that there was $1.4 billion in a cold wallet. I know I don't understand how many millions of dollars go through an exchange like Bybit. I don't even think I have an account there. I don't know it at all. But still, $1.4 billion actively being traded on your system the idea that you might need to withdraw that or deposit it. That's the part that I'm having trouble with. Ben Ark, what do you think about the hack and the size of the hack, like Josh noted?
That's the thing which is really interesting, is the kind of liquidity which goes through an exchange like Bybit, is it as high as 1.4 billion? Like, do they need to have that on hand in case someone does some big fat trade and they want to withdraw it?
Factors more, right? It must be greater than that, even if they're having that in the cold wallet. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I mean, it can't be a cold wallet if someone's able to steal it. So like Josh was saying, it's probably a lukewarm wallet. I did hear that maybe there was something they did with some smart contracty things. So then when it went into the cold wallet, the person actually had access to it and they're able to pull it off, even though it was on the cold wallet, I guess. But I don't really understand how the Ethereum stuff works. But yeah, to me, and to us in Bitcoin land, a cold wallet, people can't access your funds unless they've got your keys or your seed, and then they take it from you and you go to your cold wallet and it's gone. You have the cleaner you can't trust. But to have that much money available to a hacker, if they're just hacking into your system, I guess the only reason they would do that was, well, I mean, there's two reasons. Either they're incredibly complacent and they shouldn't be running an exchange, or they've got huge amounts of liquidity going through their exchange and they literally need to have that accessible, like Josh said, for fulfilling orders, which is quite a spectacular amount of money for an exchange, which I don't really hear about very often. So yeah, no, it's the amazing thing is that Bybit will probably just continue to operate despite this hack. And then the questionable thing for me, looking at it from kind of through a Bitcoin lens, I suppose, is how can you stop someone from spending that money? Surely if they've got the Ethereum, they can just sell it for whatever. They don't have to go through Tether, and like if they want to get trade it on some exchange platform, but they can sell the Ethereum to somebody else or mix it or do whatever people do. Like, is it possible to censor a transaction, an Ethereum transaction, and not allow them to spend those coins? I don't think it is it?
And not especially. The main thing people are mad about Ethereum is they rolled back the chain that one time. So there is a precedent. If the hack is large enough, the size of the DAO hack, maybe, I don't know who it is, will roll back Ethereum. But that seems really unlikely, especially as Ethereum's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Still $1.4 billion.
They couldn't do it now. It's too big.
No.
There's too many players. Back when that happened, it was a tiny community that was, it's grown so massive now that it's impossible, but improbable, let's say that. But in terms of freezing funds, because everything's smart contract based, so if you create a token on Ethereum, you're actually creating a smart contract with the rules of that token. And some tokens have freezability built in. So Tether, not Tether, USDC does, it's a regulated coin. It has, they can freeze USDC, where you can't freeze ETH.
And now, is part of the problem the size of this transaction, Josh? Is it that the guy, if he put $1 billion through Tether, they'd find it? Or is it just Tether and the sleuths are looking for this? Even if he broke it down in hundreds, they'd still just find all the hundreds.
Yeah, it's just a matter of programmatically doing it. The real problem is if you if you convert it to a different token, like let's say, I don't know, USDC, that's freezable, and then put that USDC straight into a market maker as liquidity, that then gets mixed with all the rest of the tokens in the contract. So it's hard to mix. Then they can still freeze it, but all of a sudden, liquidity, it sort of breaks things, freezing stuff. And we've always said that about Bitcoin, like don't whitelist them because it'll break things. There's, you don't want censorability in even though it's the right thing to do in this sort of case.
So you want it to be, you need it to be fungible, like above all else, for it to continue to work. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. As soon, obviously the moral thing is to say, hey, these are stolen funds. We've got to stop the move. But the bad, bad money is freezable money. Good money is totally fungible and fluid. And you've got to use law and police to police criminals rather than dealing with the money. Of course, not many people want to hear that, but that's just pure economics.
But Bitcoin, on that topic, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a bunch of these other coins, they're not fungible, are they? Because they do have a record of ownership in a way which physical cash doesn't have. There was a whole bunch of like precedent cases early on with cash, normal money, where somebody would claim that the money which someone stole from them and then went to somebody else, and somebody else then belonged to them and it was worth less value. And then like the courts in the UK, for example, would chuck out those cases because they understood that you couldn't have money which had different values. It all needs to be fungible and you need to be able to exchange the money. It was something like that, or something with gold or something.
Yeah, it was a UK landmark case between a banker and a bank and it was some industrialist who sent bags of money in the post and marked all the bills on each one. And then they all went missing. And then years later, they showed up at some bank and he took them to court for it. And the bank then went to the bank said, no, we can't do this. And the court sided with the bank because if they'd said, no, you get the money, then no one would trust the pound anymore. Because if I get this pound from you, how do I know that 3 transactions ago this wasn't part of a heist?
Could be a dirty
and it'll
coin.
be stolen from me.
Yeah.
And in the same way, like we at the Standard, we're not putting USDC as a collateral type because imagine there's a big heist. What do? They take their USDC, they put it into the Standard, they convert it to our stable coin, like because they borrow against that. And now they've gotten off and we're stuck with the thing that's going to be frozen.
Yeah.
So it starts to break stuff. So bad money starts to have friction within the system. Now we do use USDC, but in a different way where people can swap into USDC. So they can't choose which USDC they get. They swap into it off a DEX. So that way that mitigates that. But allowing people to directly deposit USDC isn't available. And that's unfortunate because you're basically not using something that's very, very, massive market cap.
It's always been one of my, like, what I thought would be one of the best hacks against Bitcoin would be, say, if somewhere like the US, for example, were to say, all right, yeah, you can use Bitcoin, but you can only use clean coins, or we can verify the source. You can't use mixed coins. And then you'll have these coins with different values, and then you would create this fungibility attack. And I thought that's kind of the best attack on Bitcoin, and probably the reason that we do need privacy on a base layer.
Totally agree. Totally agree. That's always been a big fear of mine. There was back in the day, there was a huge talk about that as one of the lawmakers wanted to push through the fact that there had to be white lists instead of black lists. And man, there was a pushback on the forum because and they rejected I think that it was a technical soft fork to make that happen or something, but maybe not. I can't remember, but yeah, there was a big shit fight because of it.
Well, it does drastically change the way the currency works if you whitelist everyone or if you blacklist people later that are bad actors. It does change it indeed.
So
and it is interesting, Josh, like you guys were saying, there's so many new ways to exit these days. It's not just selling the Ethereum or flipping it, or as they're saying in the chat, some of the money might have been moved onto Tornado Cash. There could be $200 million already rolling around out there. But they could also buy NFTs or already own the NFTs. Or nowadays, they could buy these meme coins and already owe them. And you wonder why, fart coin number 7 is pumping. And maybe these guys are using it for exit liquidity. The rest of the market comes in. Can you imagine being an investigator? And now you have to investigate one of these meme coin launches and maybe it was fake. Maybe the Taylor Swift fans aren't real, but how do you prove they're not real?
Yeah, I mean, Ethereum's all account-based, so it's a lot harder to mix coins. You can mix them through smart contracts like that use zero knowledge proofs like Tornado Cash, but it's still a lot harder, and it's an interesting conundrum. Yeah, because Bitcoin's is actually a lot easier to mix stuff. Yeah. But if you buy, for instance, if you buy a meme coin, it's still in the same account. Like you're buying this and you're swapping to a different one and you're just dealing with that same account. You have to do something a bit more intense. And this is the thing about like vast amounts of money. What they generally try to do is split them up into shitloads of accounts and then do different things with it. But because, you know, computers, you can track everything programmatically. And if the attacker fucks up one thing where they don't cover their tracks properly out of all the thousands, so the more you split it up, the harder it is to do. But the least you split it up, the easier it is to track. So the more you split up, the easier it is to screw it up at some stage, because people are watching this in perpetuity. So so you screw it up, and then 5 years down the track, you get lazy and you go and buy those shoes with the stolen funds, and they're like, aha, we got him. Boom. And they take him down. So, yeah.
As they're saying in the chat, reminding us of Razzle Khan, they could be buying stolen PlayStation 5s or Walmart gift cards, but how are you going to get $1 billion in PlayStation 5s? I mean, I know they're expensive, but even so. And there is one more option that Ben didn't list that could be the source or the cause of these funds. Obviously, we have no insider information here, but allegedly, there could have been an inside job. There could have been too much money in this wallet by on-purpose mistake. The keys could have been left out by on-purpose mistake. We have no idea what's going on here. Maybe even the owner of the exchange wanted to make some money disappear tax-free. Who knows what's going on behind these exchanges? Allegedly. We have no information about this. But yes, it is. Let us know in the chat if you have any conspiracy theories or links to information about these conspiracy theories, and we'll check it out. But it is an exciting first issue. And as they said, though, it is wrecking the rest of the market as well. Taking a look down the line, Bitcoin down, let's see, go to the last 24 hours. Bitcoin down 3.3%, Ethereum down 4.3%, Ripple down 5.5%, Tether is holding, Binance Coin down 2.2%, Solana down 3.8%, and USDC is holding as well. So there's a lot of market action on this. Let's go to the exit question, predicting against the predictor ball, the source of all truth and knowledge in this universe. Given the fact that we have been hacked this morning and the market is up in a roar, Josh Shigala, will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week?
I think we'll be higher again.
Ben Ark, higher or lower?
Gonna go lower.
Now, we were higher until this hack. Bitcoin was around 99,000. Everyone was saying 100, 100, 100. And like nothing, we dropped back to 95, which is where we are now. But as of course, the ball knows all. If you're looking for trading advice, this is it right here. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week? My sources say no. The price will not be higher. His sources say no. Moving on to the next issue, which used to be issue 1, but is now issue 2. Crypto worth $99 million. Why not just say 100? Withdrawn from Milei-backed Libra token, researchers say. And they launched a new one of these pump fun altcoins recently. It was called Libra, and allegedly it was backed by the Argentinian government, the famous Milei, who wanted to destroy all currencies and was going to, quote, reform Argentina, apparently supported this Libra token. As he says here, I didn't promote it, I shared it. After he shared it, the price went up, and when the price goes up, we all know what happens. The price fell right out after, as one of the developers allegedly, or someone, rug pulled the coin, selling more than $100 million out of the Libra token. Ben Ark, what do you think about the latest pump and dump? The Libra token, this time including the Argentinian president.
Didn't the guy who did the rug pull, he said, well, I haven't rug pulled because I've still got the money. I've just got, I think it's 82 million. I've just got $82 million. And there was a few people from the community who gave a little bit of money back too, but Yes, I think that's why it went down to $82 million. So he said, look, I haven't rug pulled you because I've got the money. I'm keeping it. He hasn't said what he's doing with the money. It's like 26-year-old goofball crypto knobhead. He managed to get this Milei guy to pump it. I mean, that's the best defense for any insider trading, isn't it? It's just to say, oh, I was just saying it. I didn't realize it'd have any impact on the price and cause any fluctuation. Or I did wonder when I first heard this story whether that Facebook coin had come back, because remember there was a Facebook coin called Libra, wasn't there, for a while?
Yeah.
They were trying to work on some sort of like crypto coin. Facebook were, and then I wondered whether the people who did invest in this Libra thing, they were associating it with that and thinking maybe it was related to it. Some of maybe the Chinese grannies pumping the coin. But yeah, I mean, we've just got a whole like swathe of people who need to learn the lesson of easy come, easy go. Meme coins and shit coins, a lot of them pump and they dump. And people will learn that lesson. We kind of thought that maybe the lessons had been learned, but obviously this whole world has opened up so much more, and that's why we've got presidents and world leaders pumping coins on their social networking profiles. But this Milei guy did say that he'd learned the lesson not to be a little bit more guarded in what he talks about on social networks, which is probably wise because, yeah, you can pump a shit coin. So don't really know what I think about it. Let's see what this kid does, this 27-year-old with the 82 million.
It only took $100 million to learn his lesson. It was inexpensive. Yeah. And it is interesting, like you say, Ben, there is a major interview with CoffeeZilla where, against all odds, the developer of this coin joins Coffee and talks about the alleged rug pull. The developer says that he's okay with people sniping their own coin, which for you, if you haven't heard yet, they're calling this sniping. But basically, you launch the coin and you're right there to buy the coin. So you buy the coin as cheap as you can get it. Then the coin goes up and you dump it on other people. But they're saying that now people are doing this insider information, and maybe they're even doing this on other coins. There's a lot of accusations in the meme coin market. They're even saying that Dave Portnoy, the famous pizza reviewer and Barstool sports guy who keeps buying and selling Bitcoin at the wrong time, that he was involved. He was going to get free tokens. He lost lots of money, but he was reimbursed. And they're saying that because he's reimbursed, he might be going to jail now. I don't know the details, again, allegedly and so forth, but it is a wild story. Josh Shigala, what do you think about the Libra coin and the latest rug pull, $100 million?
Yeah, I did a whole show about it with Adam Stokes when it happened. Milei did share it, but when it crashed because he pulled his tweet is one of the reasons it crashed. The other reason is that the developers pulled $100 million out of the liquidity pool. So what happens when that happens if it's going up like crazy? So his excuse, the developer's excuse is we removed 100 million because if the early snipers were to sell, it would have crushed the entire graph. So it went up and they pulled it, but the problem with pulling it is there's nowhere to stand. You're standing there like the road runner, sort of looking down, and then so stupid. But it's not just stupid. I think there was a designed thing here in terms of. I think it was stupid that they didn't know it would all collapse and fade in, and then Milei would pull the tweet because he was like, because a lot of these large players actually have social media account people that look after their account, and I feel like he might have looked at it and gone, what's this? Like some of these people, I don't know, because the strange thing is with Libra, the promise was to like back Argentinian businesses, almost like a VC fund, but it's a meme coin. So like, how can a meme coin also have, some sort of function? I thought it's just a meme. And so none of it makes sense. Turns out this guy also was part of other pump and dumps, and all sorts of nefarious, sniping, which basically means you just buy it first, and you know about it first, or your mates do, and so yeah, there's been a whole bunch of stuff. I think they just got cocky with it, went a bit too hard. I don't. It never surprises. It never stops to surprise me how greedy people are. Like, these people have made in other tokens hundreds of millions of dollars, yet they do it again and again. Like, when is enough, guys? Are you that dumb? Not only doing it once, which wrecks the poor people that are partaking in this as well. By the way, there's really, people suffer, but then to do it again and again, because you think, oh, I got away with it, like, dumb. At least the old school bank robbers would rob a bank, and then, like, you wouldn't hear from them for a while until they run out of money, and then they do it again, but and get caught. But these people just seem to, like, just do it again. Terrible, but very, very interesting.
Funny, Josh, all they seem to get, though, is these paper hundreds of millions. There's always this talk about how on paper they have the meme coin, or they have the liquidity, or they have the altcoin, or whatever it is. It's not like old Wild West when they would rob the stagecoach or the train. You'd roll into town with the money in hand. You'd go right to the bar, right to the prostitutes, the party, the whole scene and everything. Yeah. These guys never seem to have that scene. They just sit at home in the computer. And I think for them, they're looking at 100 million and they're like, that's nothing. I should get 1.5 billion. If I had leveraged it, or if I had gone long, or whatever the saying is, or if we'd hired a better influencer than Portnoy, or whatever it is, they have some plan. And I just think it's numbers on a paper. I don't think it has anything to do with you could have a nice vacation, or you could buy better food for your family, or whatever it is. It's just this mad numbers game. So
it's a pinball number. Like, it's just, in pinballs, they're always ridiculously high numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just trying to get the new high score. And as they are saying in the chat, I do agree from the CoffeeZilla interview, they said that this developer guy was also involved in Melania Coin, which was also kind of a pump and dump. Ben, did you have more on this? Go ahead.
No, I mean, I guess the only way for this thing to stop happening is for some people to go to jail, isn't it, at some point? For some of these 27-year-olds to just get chucked in jail. And yeah, all right. May not be very libertarian of me, but
it seems a lot like the piracy argument, though, where all you're going to do is kind of push it off store, and then you're going to push it underground into these encrypted dark web meme coins, and people still want to buy their Barbie coin. Like, the demand is still there.
These 20-something-year-old crypto bros need to be stopped, and I don't know what it will take. Prison,
but you can't
shoot them.
Sorry, Ben.
It's a beautiful time in the United States, though, because we've legalized crime. So there's no problems anymore. So these crypto bros are not going to be stopped. There's not going to be regulation. If anything, they're going to start celebrating this, and perhaps have meetings at the White House for, like Josh is saying, who has the biggest. Maybe this will be a countrywide thing as well. Wow, my computer broke again. And it's just every week on this. So, but yeah, it'll be a score by score competition. They could have your country versus my country, the Russian hackers versus the American hackers. Fantastic competition. Who could steal
the intercontinental hacking competition has always been there, but the thing is, you cannot regulate this with regulations. It's funny because simple humans go, "Oh, we need regulation." Like, this is international. It's the whole point of blockchains is there's no permission needed. You just jump in and partake. It's just ridiculous to say let's regulate it, because you cannot, as a smart contract coder, code something for one little continent or one country, and then something else for another country. It doesn't work. People VPN around. They'll take. All you can do is say, the LBMA, the gold markets in London, are voluntarily regulated. There is a voluntary body called the London Bullion Market Association who give generalized rules. And if you follow those rules as a business selling gold, you get the stamp of approval, and people go, "Ah, we can trust them because they have the official LBMA." So we'll go. People will learn from these big calamities. People will learn, oh, okay, so I will not buy a meme coin that launches directly onto the market because they have these snipers, and I'm just, you know, the last one holding the bag, and there's no way I can beat them because it's all insider trading. Okay, so someone's created a smart contract that vests out over time or does something else, some other mechanism that stops that. So, and maybe voluntary regulatory bodies pop up to say, these are the best practices. If you do want to go into shit coinery, then you'll follow these best practices and only buy those tokens, because otherwise you'll get shat on. And
You can't have a gradated launch like that. You need the excitement of the launch, the people going all in with the money, all the degens with the price, and then this is this. If you launch it slowly, like you're saying, Josh, it won't have that excitement. So essentially, these hackers are denying people the ability to launch their meme coins in the way they want to.
Yeah, but those hackers are always going to be there. They're going to be around the world. They're going to build bots that see an address pop up, and the faster they can get to it, the more they can jump on it or whatever. All right. So, or it's insider. You know, you cannot regulate this with human rules and laws. You have to regulate it with education and building systems that that the market goes, I'm not using that because I know that that mechanism can be easily controlled. That's the only way to do it. You cannot change things. Sure, you could take this guy to jail that did this after the fact. That's the thing. But the people participating that got rorted, they're always going to get rorted, because then the next one will come out of some other country that you don't have jurisdiction over. So how are you going to stop that? People are still going to partake. Are you going to take all the victims?
There's like, you know, if we're going to put what's her face in prison for hacking Bitfinex or whatever, there's like a society needs to decide whether sniping is, you know, an immoral, like illegal, on a par with insider trading thing to do. And then some of the jurisdictions in which, I mean, he's like an American guy, isn't he? This young guy. I don't want to see anyone go to jail, but like, it wouldn't hurt if there's a little deterrent there that people thought, well, maybe I won't do this thing because I might get in shit for it, I might get in trouble for it, it's not worth it. So I'm with you that there's a whole bunch of more sophisticated ways to handle the problem, but we do have laws for things like insider trading, and some of them probably do apply to this type of behavior.
There's already there's laws, like theft is a thing. Right? So if you,
I guess is sniping, this concept of sniping, is it like, oh yeah, YOLO, it's fine, or is it something which we all decide is, you know?
Oh, we're continuing down the line of the pre-mine. If the pre-mine is announced, is it okay? For example, Ethereum has a pre-mine. If the pre-mine announced, is it okay? Trump coin, they own 80% of the coin. So if they ever decide to, they could dump twice, 4 times the amount of coin on the market onto the market, crushing the market. This other thing now, Libra, if they buy it, you know, a minute after or 10 seconds after they launch, is that okay? So it's really like where the money is taken, and that we're going to go down the line on that. Going back to what Josh says, I think that, unfortunately, I think this pump fund site is done. I don't know if it's in the United States, but it's going to move. It better run. They all better run. I do think, like Josh is saying, this is going to be a dark web thing, people investing in meme coins, but that at least makes it into what it is. It's a casino. If you want to go to the casino, you go to the seedy part of town and you go gamble your money, not to mock Las Vegas, which is all seedy then, I guess. But the same thing, you have to separate these things. And as far as if it's unbreakable, yes, right now it looks impossible. All these people have all the money and they're hiding it. But I think it's the same as the Code of Omerta, where the mob was all silent until all the mob started ratting each other out. And even if it takes, not extrajudicial, but outside of the computer system, actual real world investigations following these people, there's so much money now being taken. It seems like that would happen. These investigations will happen. And as they broke the mob, I think they can break these pump fund people, even if they have hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, exactly. And sorry, what was that, Ben?
Saying you probably need like radically more sophisticated police forces because they're not the best at this sort of thing, combating this type of crime, are they? But there we are.
Yeah, and like just to reiterate, there are laws. Like I can't go into eBay and say I'm going to sell you something, but hide all these things about it because I could be taken to court about me hiding the fact that it's totally busted and it was just a figurine. It wasn't the real thing. It was just a figurine, but the photo made it look real, right? There's fraud, and so by the difference between a pre-mine and telling everybody, hey, there's this many tokens and it's already pre-mined. I don't think there's a problem with that. The fundamental problem is when you defraud people by lying about something and dumping on, or like telling all these like insiders to trade on the first second that it goes live, and then tweeting about it after to tell people it's live now, and the candle's already shot up. And meanwhile, all these people are holding giant bags that they're ready to dump onto retail. So that's fraud. And we don't need regulations for that because it's basic fraud. Like, there's not much more to say. You just take the people that perpetrated to court if you can track them down. Try doing that if they're from Myanmar or something. But if they're in the US, which they usually are, or parts of Asia, I guess. But but then those countries deal with that.
I guess you get to confiscate the funds, don't you? So maybe there's a bit of a, carrot on a stick there for law enforcement. Usually with this stuff, it's evidence of intent, isn't it? If like you are genuinely making some meme coin, which you think is going to change the world, and there's no breadcrumb of you chatting to some of your mate on Telegram saying, yeah, I'm going to dump this shit and make loads of money, then you're probably all right. It's just an accident, whatever. But if usually, I mean, there will probably be evidence of intent at some point from,
just watch the CoffeeZilla thing. There's evidence for he's
just yeah. I know he's such a sociopath as well. The way it's all about him. There's nothing about the people who he stole the money from, and awful.
It is awful. It's disgusting. Yeah.
Well, it's from the humanitarians that brought you Melania coin. And I'm not sure if they want to enforce the laws or just have a leaderboard for fraud, where we could say, okay, these guys frauded the most, therefore they are the best. But let's move on to the exit question. Going back to Bitcoin in the early days, we used to talk to Andreas, and he talked about the idea of Joey coin and everyone on the schoolyard having their own coin. And it all seemed kind of, bucolic, kind of a Norman Rockwell painting of beautiful American landscape, everyone with their own coin. But we sure thought that Joey coin was going to get popular and maybe Joey would go all schoolyard. But we didn't see Joe going all worldwide, and the amount of worldwide liquidity being pumped into Joey coin and the billions of dollars that suddenly Joey coin is managing. Let's ask Josh Shigala, were Bitcoiners naive on this? And also, like, have we unleashed something that's horribly dangerous now? This idea that everyone can have their own coin, whether it's about them or it's about a meme or it's about whatever they want it to be, and they can pump it and they can dump it. It's Andy Warhol. In the future, everyone will have their own coin for 15 minutes.
Yeah, that won't change for sure. I mean, anyone can make a coin. Why not? It's just is what it is. Anyone can. I can make some physical coins too. It's just easier to make digital ones. But people will just get over it. They'll be over the fraud and over the things, and they'll only. The system will self-regulate. The market will self-regulate after a while because they'll realize, of course, there's a new idiot born every day, so it might take very long time, and greed is a factor, and foolery is a factor. But generally speaking, the market, especially the smart money, tends to go, oh, okay, that's how it works. There's a fraud. Because gold, for instance, had 3,000 years of scams. They've pretty much figured out a lot of the scams. So there's ways of, that they've built around and structures and stuff. But crypto is very new still. And so there's always new ways to scam people with tricky, nefarious ways that they don't see up front. But yeah, people will start to see them and go, oh, look, we can see on chain that they've minted billions of these pre-mine, and they're not saying it's a pre-mine. I mean, most tokens are if it's on pump.fun and stuff. It's just created and sold. But But yeah, maybe that you create it, then you create a smart contract that vests over time when you buy it. So you buy it from the smart contract rather than the free market, rather than the DEX, and it will vest over, the next 5 years, trickle slowly into people's wallets. Again, I'm only buying those sort of tokens. This is what's going to happen.
I think the approach to regulation was so heavy-handed, chasing down the industry, making everyone a criminal, scaring the shit out of these CEOs who are now so freaked out they've gone over right wing. I think that was a mistake. It led us to a point where the public's not informed. The main thing the public knows about cryptocurrencies is their get-rich-quick schemes, but they still believe they can work. So they still go into this meme coin and they go into the next meme coin and they think this one's backed by the president of Argentina. This one's backed by the president of the United States. It's going to be a winner. And I think that we're not educating people. We're not talking about cryptocurrency. And a lot of this comes from that original idea that they had with the internet. And for all I know, I think they had it with records and rock and roll and radio and everything. So they're like, this new technology has arrived. The first thing we should do is put it back in the box. We should control it. We should strap it down. Instead of looking at the possible trajectory of the technology, seeing something where Bitcoin, other coins have established themselves, and now anyone can make their coin. And we've gone way beyond like just altcoins like Litecoin or Megacoin or whatever it is, or Cause coin or utility coin or whatever you want to say. Now it's just you can make a coin because you want to. You can put your face on it. That doesn't work. You can make a coin too, whatever.
And they were actual chains, so you needed some actual engineering background. On Pump.Fun, you just pay some money. And you got to think also, Pump.Fun's made over $500 million just from fees for people launching these tokens. But just quickly, Inspire Formula says, feels like there's a strong effort to gaslight, confuse, and overwhelm children to tard them. It's attack on BTC. Look, I agree. But at the same time, there are projects that are really being built, and I would say there's also some blame at the SEC here, who is taking legitimate projects and finding them and taking to the court and taking them down. And so builders are actually scared of building legitimate projects on these smart contracts. And so what are people doing instead? They're just going, oh, look, rather than working for 5 years, really hard engineering tasks, I'm just going to create a meme coin and shill it with my mates because that's way easier. So it sucks that legitimate people trying to build stuff, you can call Ethereum a scam, whatever, but they're these smart contracts that they're trying to make something of, and they're taking them down. But yeah, it could also be a big gaslight. I don't know. I think markets are just full of scammers that are ready to, pump millions into a chart, and only to pull it from people.
Well, that is one of the things I learned when I started working at Bitcoin startups is you have no idea how many scammers are out there on the internet, how many people were trying to attack our website, both directly with computers and, pinging it and whatever, also indirectly with social engineering, making fake accounts, making networks of fake accounts. People will do all kinds of things you don't think they'll do. And a lot of it is this economic disparity where in another country, you could live on $100 for a month. So for them, scamming $10 or $100 out of someone is a much bigger deal than it would be around here. As they're saying in the chat that children are not being taught to build their own computer and that they're being kept dumb. And I do think this is one of the major problems with our society. And I've talked about it before, and I really need to write a book about it. But basically, the success of propaganda in World War I and World War II leads to a situation where you need to keep the people dumb so that the new version of propaganda called advertising can work. If the people are too smart, they understand that advertising is all lies, and that kind of breaks your whole consumerism-driven society. But this is put in a position now where hucksters, political people, religious people, other people are coming in and taking advantage of these people who can't use critical thinking, who are susceptible to advertising, but it turns out they're susceptible to all kinds of other things, just like the United Kingdom who wanted to build that back door into Apple software. You think you're building a back door for you, the government, to use for legitimate purposes, but you're really building a back door for everyone else, everyone who finds it. Ben, Ark, what do you think about whatever the current topic is?
Yeah, we sort of waved it off there, haven't we? What do I think about the current topic? Yeah, I think Josh is right. People will learn, and there's just hard lessons to be learned. But then, yeah, yeah. I mean, there will be some social cues from laws being used to take some of these people to court. But we've seen it in the past. There's been a bunch of times where I've been like, man, this stuff needs to be regulated because everyone's getting ripped off. And then it kind of stops happening. Like the ICOs start happening, or the shitcoins stop happening. And then there's a year or two passes and then there's a new thing. So now we have this meme coin thing. And it's repackaged and presented in a way where it's not causing harm. So this pump fun thing, it's like, oh, it's just fun, we're YOLOing, just got me crazy. But there are legitimately people being ripped off and, killing themselves and doing all the things people do when they lose all their money. I guess there's only so many times you can skin a cat, and eventually, no matter how people present these things, then the general populace will know it's probably a scam. We know that, we learned that, so I'm sure other people can learn it as well. So yeah, it's just a matter of time, and these pump fun bricks will make a fair buck while people are learning. Terrible way to earn your money. Make something built and productive.
Yeah.
It does seem a lot like a startup, but in reverse. When you plan a startup and you say, oh, well, we're going to make software, which means we can give our software to the whole world. The whole world is our potential install base. Everyone could use our software. In the same way as a scammer, you look at the internet and you say, wow, the whole world can be our scam. Everyone can be our customer that we scam. So scamming has gotten bigger. Everything's better. Could we?
Someone like Trump to go to prison, or someone like that to, someone who pump or Milei. That's what we need. It's like no one's untouchable. If you pump and dump, fuck you, go to prison or whatever. Or
now maybe that's even a better question. Exit question: will Milei go to prison? Will these developers go to prison? Josh Shigala, what do you think? And then we'll go to Ben.
I hope not. I mean, I think if anything, he should have a court case and see, what happened, like how much did he know, what happened. But because he did tweet about it. But I think the developers and the snipers and the people that got away with the money should go to prison, because Milei didn't make anything from this. There's no money there for him. In fact, he just lost.
If you want to make an example of him, he put his hand in the fire. He should get burned. They made an example of Ross Ulbricht. Are we going to say because he's a president, his tweets are above the law, which is a similar situation we have here in the United States? Ben Ark, what do you think? Should Milei be set free? He only tweeted about it. The other people did the damage by writing the coin and dumping it and so forth.
I mean, I guess there is big, huge reputational loss. Like Josh was saying, and then maybe, Macaroon or whatever, or Starmer will be thinking, oh, I might tweet out about sausage roll coin, but I'm not going to do that now because I saw what happened to my mate Milei. So, and that, he got a lot of shit for it. So maybe some of these world leaders will be a little bit more hesitant in tweeting, unless they are lining their own pockets, which often happens, of course. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's really bad when we have political leaders normalizing scammy behavior. That does kind of suck because it gives permission and says it's like this world leader, my prime minister or president or whatever. If they could do this, then why shouldn't I? And it normalizes that behavior. So I think it's going to get a lot rougher than in the near future before things ease out and people learn that these are all scams.
Especially as it's done at the top. I mean, only a president of Argentina. We don't know the names of any senators from Argentina, anything like that. But like you're saying as well, Ben, these state senators could do it. The representatives could do it. Being a politician in a democratic society, sometimes you're only up for 2 years or 4 years and then you're out. If you make $100 million, you're set for life. Also, if we wanted to, for a minute, believe that they believed in something, they could use that to fund their causes. They could use that to support veterans affairs or whatever it is. And I've said since the beginning of this thing, since we talked about Trump coin, which kind of breaks all the boundaries here. He was He was going to be president. He was president-elect. He launched the coin. He was inaugurated. He is president now. He's tweeted about the coin since as president-elect. Why doesn't the left take from this and at least fight fire with fire? Make an AOC coin. Give AOC $100 million to support her causes. Schumer, anybody else, Bernie Sanders, launch their own coins. Why are we allowing this to be a one-sided thing? And if it is a grift or it's a grift, whatever, it still seems like it's distributing money to political causes. Although in this case, the political cause was interrupted. It didn't get to the Argentinian people. If that even was the goal, for all we know, the money put into this coin was all there to pump it. It was never about the Argentinian people. Like dentist coin was never about dentists.
As we've seen a bunch on this show, you throw out ideas and then a year later they happen. So expect like Bernie coin to be made shortly. Because I mean, if I was one of these pumpy guys, I'd make a Bernie coin.
Pocahontas coin.
Well, and not just pumpy. I mean, I guess you have to get them to tweet it or get them to support it, or in a distasteful way, you could take over their social media or bribe their social media guy or hack it or whatever. Because apparently, I don't know, it's hard to really judge what's real anymore. But a tweet from the Argentinian president caused all these people to invest. I don't know. Or they were already going to invest.
An address.
Maybe 10% of it was real, 20% was real. Like how many actual people? And that was another interesting thing that the Argentinian president said, defending himself. He said, and I don't know why this matters, but he said, there were only 5,000 people or so hurt, and they're probably not Argentinians. So there's this idea that you can commit fraud and crime on other people as a president representing a country like Argentina, and then it's okay that other people are getting defrauded because they're not part of your country. It's getting weird out there, the idea of universal human rights and respecting everyone equally and just saying, hey, that's a person too. I wouldn't want them to lose all their money, or even having good intentions, like you want to make a product. None of these were products. I don't know that there's any, even for Libra coin, if it was going to go to the Argentinian people, I don't know that we could look at a white paper and say, okay, 10% is going to rebuilding roads, 20% to this, 30% to this. Like it's just, and whoop, $100 million is in that developer's wallet, allegedly. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah. I mean, there should be ways to, the coffee had a good mechanism to repay people that lost it by focusing on the smaller amounts and saying that the larger ones obviously are a bit more sophisticated. So just focus on the smaller amounts and repay all of those. But yeah, it's the thing is you cannot why should you ban creating a token and selling it? It shouldn't be banned because it's just a token. If people want to buy it, they buy it. Just like a collectible, like an NFT, like anything. If I want to sell mugs, it's just the market will learn slowly what the hell a scam looks like, how scams are structured, and scammers will then adjust and have a new way of scamming, and then the market will adjust to that. And eventually, you'll always have scams, but eventually you'll have less because people become a bit more clued in.
I think it's similar to playing 3-card Monte on the street, where everyone on the street is in on the game and it's a big scam and it's all clearly illegal, versus playing blackjack in a casino. You know the odds aren't good, but at least the odds are regulated. If you win, you'll be paid. Not everyone in the casino is just a scam like the 3-card Monte game. And unfortunately, it looks like this pump.fun, allegedly, and so forth and all that, they seem to be creating and encouraging these scams. And now previously I would say, oh, there's a legal system and there's justice and there's laws and all this, so they're going to crack down on that. I no longer believe that. I don't know that there's a legal system. It seems to me more likely we'll go the other direction, a top 10 list of these scammers. There'll be Rogan coin, AOC coin, Bernie coin, all the coins, and the Wild West will just
get wild. That makes someone a scammer because they're selling a coin. It doesn't make them instantly a scammer. It makes them a scammer if they're lying about the token.
If you watch the Coffee video, he talked about how all of these coins are being sniped now. So even if you are like your AOC coin and you want
that's the illegal thing.
You contact these developers. The developers just say to you, "We're going to do an honest thing for you, AOC. then they snipe you 10% because they just do that to everybody. And that seems where it doesn't seem like it's a meme coin industry. It seems like it's a meme coin scam industry. And it seems like you coming in, no matter who you are, Rogan, AOC, we're not talking about sides. Even Melania, for example, or Milei, if he was involved in this Argentinian Libra coin. You want to make an honest coin, but unfortunately, all the developers have decided that the standard is dishonesty. The standard is no ethics, and that they will snipe you and their friends will snipe you, and that your launch will be dishonest. And that's industry-wide, that's like, there's not a good meme coin. There's not one where you're like, oh, JoJo's department makes good meme coins. Don't buy them from Freddie, buy them from Joe. It seems they're all bad, and it seems, I don't think it's going to be regulated. I think it's going to just get worse and worse.
It can't be regulated. How are you going to regulate, man? There's a
shut down pump.fun and you make it really hard. You push it onto the dark web.
Okay,
and you start all your like kind of public.
Hang on. You shut down coin, for who? Who do you shut pump.fun down? I'm not saying you shouldn't. Like, I'm not somehow standing up for some scammers here, but I'm just saying you can. It's so easy to go. It's the first thing that jumps in the head. Regulator. What? Okay. Let's walk through this. How are you going to regulate it? Are you going to regulate it in New York only? What happens if that regulation? Do the people that use it get put in prison, or do the people that make something? Okay, then they don't make it in New York. They make it in Istanbul. Like, it's a global thing. It's permissionless. The only thing that will regulate it is that people will stop buying it if they know that every time it happens, every time they buy a different token, they get scammed. Oh, there's a new way of launching these where that's less likely because of XYZ, because it's a vesting contract or something like that. I don't know. But that's the only way. That's the only way it can happen. You can threaten everybody on Earth, but without a global government, you can't do that. And thank God we don't have that. Like, what, are you going to put everybody that buys a shitcoin in prison?
It's not about all or nothing, Josh. The goal is not, can we reduce it to zero? It's about, can we reduce what's happening and can we reduce those harms? And in that way, we can regulate it. What will happen will be similar to the mafia. When it starts out, you can invest and you can gamble your money on every street in numbers. And then soon, they close it down in New York. They close it down in California. They close it down in the United States. Now you can only do it in these certain unfortunate countries. And then even those countries realize that their citizens are being ripped off and that this is a bad game. And they keep forcing it down. And now there's less of it. So yes, you cannot do 100 or 0, but our game is not 100 or 0. It's about reducing harms. Right now, it's far too easy to make these things and they all end up to be scammed. So we have similar to what they say.
And end up to be scammed. Like, there's plenty of meme coins.
Like pump.fun is building a crack house with all these certain hiding places where you can hide your money so that you can hide your drugs so that they can encourage the crack dealers and the crack atmosphere that's happening on their website. They're just going to get shut down. They're going to have to go to another country. They're going to go to Malta. They're going to have VPNs. They're going to have to ban traffic. And it's just going to get smaller and smaller. If the regulation is successful, if it's unsuccessful, it'll get bigger. But the idea here is...
So you think the drug market's gotten smaller over the years?
Again,
drugs are... The drug market's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
Reduction of access to drugs, which is, again, a complex issue, which, again, though, we're talking about the same thing. Something that's harming society, you try to reduce it. The other alternative, to do nothing, always encourages it. It always goes
do nothing. I'm just saying don't use the violence of the state to do because that's the first thought, because it's the simpleton's thought.
Yeah, Josh, you're out here saying, like, if only we had an advertisement, you'd stop doing heroin. There's no magical advertisement that stops you doing heroin. In the same way, these people believe that they are going to get rich on these pump coins. So no matter how many advertisements we say, and we have the guy up there, I used to be a pumper and I lost all my money, and he tells an honest story and so forth, it doesn't matter. They still want to pump these coins. What you have to do then, if you can't reduce demand, you have to put barriers and obstacles between them losing all of their money, because
that did work in the 70s or whatever, the 80s, because you had all these like people on heroin, and then people looked at them and thought, oh, crikey, that doesn't look very good. They look like a right state. And then kind of like, coming out with meme coins, you then had it redressed and repackaged and then given to all these Americans as it is now. What's it called? What's the heroin? They're all the opiate. They're all on in America.
Yeah.
So there is a
Fentanyl.
similarity. There is a similarity there in that this thing which people would kind of steer away from because, like, they've seen the repercussions of it. They did learn. A bunch of people got on smack in the 80s and 90s, and then they thought,
Well,
oh,
and
we'll do
the
that.
crackdown on smack was all about injecting heroin. Like you say, Ben, when they switched it to the pill form with the OxyContin, they
That's
made
it.
it easier to get to people.
Well,
and a lot
that's
even
pump
though
dot
they
fun.
were
That's
shooting
pump fun,
up
isn't it?
face.
Is OxyContin that's pump fun, and then people will learn that OxyContin's not so good. We should probably stay away from that. It's a constant learning process. People get wiser. They will learn. I think a bit of both. I think you're both right.
Well, we'll have to see how it turns out, and this won't be the last time that we discuss meme coins and so forth. So let's keep moving to the next issue. Check out worldcryptonetwork.com. We've got 4,148 videos that you could watch all at the same time. worldcryptonetwork.com. Moving on to issue 4. Bitcoin reaching $100,000 is the start of a massive wave of institutional interest, says Samson Mao, probably on Twitter. Ben Ark, what do you think of Samson Mao saying that Bitcoin is now institutional interest and that we'll never have a bear market again?
I mean, I like it, and I hope he's right. But I have noticed that Samson Mao does come out of the woodwork when he gets a little bit twitchy about the market. He starts stepping up his pumpy game, because I mean, he's got a lot invested in Bitcoin, and as I think Adam Back's included in the article, talking about Bitcoin's price and how we're only at the beginning of the hockey stick and adoption's coming and blah blah blah. I'm kind of feeling the opposite. I'm kind of feeling like we had our pumpy moment where we thought that the US government was going to have Bitcoin reserve and this was going to happen, that was going to happen. And then we realize maybe Trump doesn't know too much about Bitcoin, and I don't know. The exuberance has gone somewhat, I feel, from the market, which is why it's struggling. I get that, it's shaking people out. So it's shaking out those weak-handed miners and whoever else out of the Bitcoin market. But I have noticed a pattern. When Samson Mao comes out and starts pumping Bitcoin hard, that's when you sell your Bitcoin. And then when he starts selling, he doesn't work for Blockstream anymore, but there was a period whenever he started selling, shilling the Blockstream stickers that you could go to the shop and buy Blockstream stickers. That's when we were kind of at the bottom of the market because it meant that they were really poor and you could buy Bitcoin then. So yeah, I don't trust what Samson Mao says about the Bitcoin price, I'm afraid.
It does seem like they went to a Bitcoiner and he has all these Bitcoins sticking out of his pockets and he's wearing a Bitcoin hat and a Bitcoin shirt. And they're like, hey, what do you think about Bitcoin? It's like, oh, I like that. Josh, what do you think about Samson Mao saying 100K and we'll never, ever have another bear market ever?
Stupid. Of course we'll have a bear market.
People want to just think that it'll go straight up forever. They never look at any of the other charts that are all waving up and down, even Facebook or Google or whatever your favorite company. They all go up and down, right, Josh?
A roller coaster cannot work if it only goes up. And by the way, a roller coaster is kind of boring only up. It's fun on the way down. I don't know what that's how that analogy says anything, but anyway.
Everyone's
it's also the value as well. Like the market cap of Bitcoin is so incredibly huge right now. Its value is so. I mean, we all think it's worth far more than it is. It's just a case of the world waking up to it. But I do think that maybe the world hasn't woken up to it quite yet. And there was a lot of FOMO and there was a lot of good news. There was a perfect storm of good news, as it happens. When we get perfect storms of bad news, we get perfect storms of good news. It all comes at the same time. And I felt like we had that. And now we're kind of, in the hangover period where it could go down.
Well, all these scams don't help, and these rug pulls and stuff, because back in the day you'd proudly say, oh, Bitcoin, have you heard of Bitcoin? You talk about it, but nowadays you say, oh, Bitcoin, and they look at you like, are you one of those dodgy scammers? It sucks because we're trying to make a difference, trying to make government free money, but it's what it is.
I think part of the good feelings that Ben's describing as well is the big man theory of history. They were going to skip all the hard to do retail adoption, all the talking to people individually and convincing them to get into Bitcoin. And we were going to go straight to the top, and we were going to buy the big man. And the big man was going to like Bitcoin, and that was going to fix everything. And this is similar to what we keep saying about the Ross Ulbricht thing. It's great he's out of jail, but I wish it had been at the end of the drug war. And I wish that the president who freed him was out there saying, Ross protested a bad system. Ross protested a system that was too harsh, that was draconian and so forth. Instead, it's like they used a warp zone and they got to the final boss. And we're not ready for the final boss. We don't have the billions of people behind us. We don't have true retail. And that's why when we go to these things, we need the institutions to adopt, and we need the institutions to buy, and the countries and the states and the Bitcoin reserve thing. Again, it's an idea that we can go and end run around the people, and that we can accelerate adoption faster by having these states pump our bags instead of doing the hard work of convincing individuals that Bitcoin is interesting.
And with the assumption that they're not looking after their own interests, such as USD, for example, and USD, dominance over the world. Like, I don't know why we're assuming that all these big players, the Michael Saylors and whoever else, have our best interests at heart. I mean, we don't assume that, of course, but a lot of people within the Bitcoin community do assume that. And it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't be so quick to trust that gazillionaire guy who's probably a spook, not say allegedly.
They're just running out of self-interest. That's and original, libertarian anarcho-capitalists understand at a base level that humans run on self-interest mainly. It's horrible to think everyone runs on it, but they do. And there's obviously there's a section of humanity of each person that doesn't. Like, you do things out of charity or philanthropy, but generally speaking, any rational actor will do stuff to better their situation. So if you go into the world thinking that and understanding that, then you're less likely to be scammed, because you don't just trust everybody. You just realize, okay, let's look at this with a bit more of a magnifying glass.
Well, it's
kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because they want you to, there's an interest for the neoliberals that we don't all trust each other, so we all buy more shit and we're more productive consumers. So there's humans inherently do, this is why when you look at when you apply those game theory models to markets, and where everyone's a rational participant, that they quite often break quite quickly, because humans do irrational things such as trusting each other and not just thinking about themselves. But yeah, it's a very interesting topic. But no, I've got a little bit more faith in humans.
Taking investment advice from a girl that tells you to hock tour on that thing. This is the
yeah, you should trust that.
Trust that. Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah, don't trust that one. Yeah. I suppose that's the other problem. Is like the things.
For all we know, that could have been insiders rugging insiders, and they all thought they were going to be the insiders.
But like humans, we're used to, because like this is Milei, isn't it? It's like you've got your Dunbar number, you've got your people who are around you, your family, your friends, the people in your village, and you're not going to screw them over, because if you do, you're going to get a bad reputation. Your life's not going to be so good. But if they're not in Argentina, it's okay. I'm going to carry on. Everything's going to carry on. It's all going to be okay as long as it's not affecting my immediate Dunbar number. And I guess that's what the internet gives humanity, which I don't know. Maybe it's not a good thing. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, it's like P.T. Barnum said, there's a sucker born every minute. But you have to think of that internet-wise. Think about a giant machine like Escher, or I forget the other artist, similar artists who had these giant machines. Think about millions and millions and millions of suckers, and that these scammers are going to all of them. And I'm reminded of a great story from The Simpsons when they were about to sell Lisa's elephant Stamper to an ivory trader. And Lisa, of course, eyed the man suspiciously. He had ivory cufflinks and ivory hat and all this stuff. And Homer wanted to calm her. He said, Lisa, it's much safer to sell Stamper to a man whose ivory reserves are full rather than a man whose ivory reserves are lacking. So it's always good. But let's keep moving. We've got more stories. Issue 5. There's a hot new theory about Bitcoin creators Satoshi Nakamoto's true identity, and I think you're going to love it. New speculation centers on Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey as the inventor of the world's most valuable cryptocurrency. Let's go to Ben Ark first. You might have even met Jack Dorsey. Is Jack Dorsey Satoshi Nakamoto? And let us know in the chat what you think.
He's a nice guy. I've met him a couple of times. He's a nice guy. And he's actually very bright as well, and an incredibly good developer. I was talking to Rabble about this. He was saying that Jack Dorsey's probably one of the better developers he's ever worked with, or the best developer he's ever worked with. So he's very bright. He's a very good developer. But no, he didn't. He's got like, he's a nice guy like him, but his ego's quite big, and I'm not sure he could remain anonymous had he made Bitcoin. And then along as well as that, Twitter, they're obsessed with Ruby back in the day, so Bitcoin would have been written in Ruby, on Ruby on Rails, which would have sucked. Or maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. So yeah, no, he's not Satoshi. I don't. Where did this news story come from? Is this just people looking in from the outside and going, "Ooh, Jack Dorsey's a gazillionaire"?
He wears a shirt that says Satoshi.
Oh right, yeah, okay, so he's actually
the Nirvana logo. Yeah. It says Satoshi,
hiding in plain sight.
Yeah,
he's a nice fella. He's a nice fella, but he didn't make it. He's too busy with Twitter. Can't be going making Bitcoin.
Not just Twitter, also Square. They had article after article back in the day about how Jack Dorsey was the CEO of 2 companies and how could he handle it, and his schedule, and how serious he is about his schedule and waking up at this time and going to bed and wearing sandals and whatever it is. No, I don't think he's Satoshi. I think this is another nonsense story. And they're also underestimating what it takes to be Satoshi. It's great, like Ben says, he might be a great developer, but this was a complex project that someone created, and it's unlikely that it's someone that's busy being the CEO of 2 large publicly traded companies. Seems unlikely. Josh Shigala, what do you think? Jack Dorsey as Satoshi?
The good thing is Trump made it legal for me to say this with an executive order. That's the most retarded thing I've ever heard. It's just dumb. Like, it's just why is it always like some famous person too? It can't just be like some underground smart person. It has to be someone that's in the public eye, that's totally known and everyone understands. No, Jack Dorsey is a censor. He was obsessed with censoring when he owned Twitter. He loved it. He loved being a government shield to basically take down anything that wasn't going in the right narrative to protect his business interests. Nah, fuck that guy. He's definitely not Satoshi.
Well, it does seem again an extension of this big man, great man theory of history. Only a great man that the media covers all the time, like Jack Dorsey, could have invented Bitcoin. It couldn't be an unknown person that the media covers.
Exactly.
Let's see. I think we got some more stories here. Let's keep them coming. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong labels Bitcoin as somewhat of a meme coin. His utility saying that Bitcoin wasn't solely built on technology or utility. It's also driven by a powerful community narrative, much like meme coins. Josh Shigala, what do you think about the CEO of Coinbase labeling Bitcoin as somewhat of a meme coin?
I mean, yeah, you could say that. I mean, why not? It's a picture. It could be also an NFT in a way. On the SAT level, it kind of is. It's a picture of an orange bee, and it it was definitely powered by memes for a long time. Like, this is the meme economy, but it's different. It's different in the fact that the motivation to build it was to separate money and state. It's truly decentralized on a scale. Obviously, it's a scale, but it's very different than some of this ridiculous nonsense where it's a token built on a blockchain that can be shut down by anyone, and this is just I don't even know how Solana works, because I've tried Solana once and it's ridiculous. It didn't work. It's like, sorry, your transaction didn't work. Like, what? No, it's totally different in that way, but it is in a way also a meme. Yeah, it's an idea. It's an idea that is a coin.
Well, I agree with you, Josh, but the internet doesn't. The internet is very mad at Brian Armstrong. I think he's being kind of philosophical here. I think he's looking back at what we did as a group, him building Coinbase, other people with BitPay, other people programming, other people tweeting about it, making YouTube videos, whatever it is, all of us together going to conferences, printing out flyers, whatever people did, that was the Bitcoin meme. We were the Bitcoiners who brought the value to the thing that, only it worked theoretically, but it didn't have value until the Bitcoiners came there and so forth. But I think people are really mad at him on the internet because of what we talked about earlier in the show. We said basically that these meme coins and pump.fun allegedly is so toxic that we must, against our libertarian goodwill and good ideas, we must suggest regulation. And I think that they're kind of having a problem squaring that circle of bringing the two together, where Bitcoin is a meme coin, but it's not a worthless, scammy meme coin. And there's a lot of fine detail there that I don't think Brian breaks down when he says that it's somewhat of a meme coin. Ben Ark, what do you think? Somewhat of a meme coin?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's working to try and legitimize meme coins by saying it. I think it's not just like an off the cuff philosophical statement. I think he's trying to justify
like an American scammer. Now you're
well, no, because that's his racket, isn't it? He's selling all sorts on fucking what is it? Coinbase. Saw him once in Roatan in the sea. Brian Armstrong's baldy head.
Bobbing about.
Bobbing about in the sea, yeah, with an entourage. No, but that's his game. That's what he does. He sells all these fucking shit coins. So if he brings Bitcoin down to that level, he's like, well, it's all the same shit. Just buy it. So I mean, I think it's a bit more calculated than him just saying something philosophically like, oh, there's memes involved in Bitcoin. Of course, there's memes involved in Bitcoin. There's a community. There's a culture involved in Bitcoin. That came about. I suppose that the big differentiator is that meme coins are built with this manufactured culture which the creators make, or they piggyback off some other culture, and it comes with all that stuff. Whereas, well, I suppose in saying that, you did have the cypherpunk culture which was attached to Bitcoin when it first started, but a lot of the things we associate as memes with Bitcoin, the laser eyes and whatever else, they're all things which naturally evolved afterwards. A lot of it I don't like, and it annoys me, but it was like the calling Satoshis, for example, like naming these the way in which we name the units of Bitcoin. It was like a natural growth thing. It could have been bits, it could have been this. There was arguments on either side of what we're going to call the smaller pieces of Bitcoin which we use. And then there's a natural evolution which happened, and then we have all this culture and all this ideology and all these cultural assets attached to Bitcoin. Whereas with the meme coins, they're trying to manufacture that. So they're trying to it's synthetic, or they're piggybacking off some other meme. So I think it is different. I think he's a bit more calculating than you're giving him credit for. Really, Brian.
I also think like a lot of that stuff happened after Bitcoin already had value. It wasn't so much the memes that gave it value. I mean, obviously, I looked in on it in 2010 and I started doing videos in 2013. And it seemed like in 2013, it was plenty valuable. It worked. You could send it around. There were wallets. It made sense. BitPay, you could make a business. Coinbase, you could cash out or cash in. It was all there. You didn't need a honey badger or laser eyes to tell you that. Maybe other people did. But I thought it was there. Josh Shigala, what do you think? Was it the memes that made Bitcoin, or was it the core of being able to send money around the internet? Even like I was talking yesterday, the fun of sending some money and then your computer beeps. It goes beep. The money is there.
You have money. Memes were a definite part of the messaging. It was the fun side, because the philosophical side is very intense and very serious, and banks are fraud and people are starving, and we've got to stop fractional reserve banking, and now we have this ability to have full reserve custodial money and cryptography, and how does the math work, and what happens when the block reward halves, and it's very serious. So how do you do that? You lighten that up with messaging. And so yeah, we were built on the back of memes, and you know, I think Bitcoin grew up with meme culture. Meme culture is also fairly new, you know, over the last 15, 20 years. It's grown a lot. It's changed a lot, but online meme culture anyhow. And so yeah, I think it has. And to Ben's point, just quickly, I wanted to say, when he said Brian Armstrong's been, you know, sells all these shitcoins, I would also blame the SEC for that. The SEC went after serious projects, after serious things, taking them all down. Yet a lot of meme coiners are saying, I'm only memeing because that's the only legal thing I can do now, is have a worthless coin that isn't there. Because if I make a utility token that actually tries to do things in an ecosystem of some software that I'm writing on smart contracts, then the SEC is going to take me because does it have a utility, or is it a security? Is it whereas a meme coin, that's not a security. It's just a thing. It's just a collectible. Like this is how bad regulation screws things up and creates more scams. So then what does Coinbase do? Well, to make sure Coinbase is safe, we'll only sell the crap that has no real value, because it's not it's not anything that can be placed into a bucket of the SEC's strange 1950s definition of a security.
It is funny, Josh. I do think they are almost forced to do that. Creating a real coin or having a real foundation or a real project no longer necessary. And also, like you say, exposes you to legal consequences. These guys putting up Libra coin, whatever that means, that doesn't mean anything. Melania doesn't mean anything. None of these things mean anything. So it's a very postmodern place that I think we found ourselves. Let's keep going. We've got a couple more issues. It's a big show. We've got Michael Saylor grab bag. Saylor's strategy to raise another $2 billion for Bitcoin looks like it's going well, with lots of private industry and BlackRock and others said to be investing. Also, Saylor says that the United States should aim to hold 20% of Bitcoin, which would boost his company's strategy. The real promise is if you own 4 to 6 million Bitcoin, you could pay off the national debt. Where's my laugh button? I don't know where it is, but I have a laugh button somewhere, and that is funny. I'm going to find it, but that is hilarious. Pay off the national debt. We'll go over that more. Also, MicroStrategy has cut its workforce 20% as Bitcoin buying accelerates. They need less people. Let's go to Ben Ark. What do you think about MicroStrategy raising money, paying off the national debt, and cutting 20% of the people because you don't need to think that much to buy Bitcoin?
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, you're not shocked how many people they employ, because it's like 20%. They're only losing a couple of hundred people because they got whatever the maths is. It's like 1,600 people or something. Is that right for 20%? I don't know. But it's, I think they've got like 1,300, 1,400 people working there, which is a crazy amount of people working at a company with a name like MicroStrategy, which has this MicroStrategy of just buying some Bitcoin. And yeah, there we go. Look at that. Why have they got so many employees? Yeah, I mean, I don't feel sorry for them. It's not like the proletariat factories being shut down and all these poor MicroStrategy guys are going to be on the streets. These are like hedge fund guys. So yeah, they'll be all right, I think. And it's probably a good idea. I don't know why he's got a company that big. Crazy.
Josh Shigala, Michael Saylor grab bag. Would you like to talk about $2 billion investing, or that the United States should hold 20% of all Bitcoin?
I think it's again, I'm going to say retarded, because by the government, the governments just don't do it. I mean, do it because it'll make all of us richer, but don't do it because it's dumb. Let the private citizens buy it. make it easier for that by having proper structures in place in your area. So private citizens, let MicroStrategy grow by 2 billion. That's allowing America, because generally it's Americans that are buying MicroStrategy shares. So it's that's how you do it. By the government holding it, I don't know. I'm not a fan of government holding this stuff.
Well, I think, Josh, this story offends me on multiple levels. Bitcoin was not made to be just held by governments, right? This isn't the point of Satoshi's work. Wasn't just we'll make a new asset that governments can hold in their accounts and never send around, right? Why did he make all this trouble, all the mining, all the sending the money around, all of that, if it was just going to be this controlled asset, right?
Well, that's Roger Ver's point as well, that it's not just a store of value, it's a medium of exchange. Yeah.
And maybe we were better off when Roger Ver was our hero instead of this MicroStrategy guy who seems to say that he just wants the government to buy it all. Like, he would be happy here now. Like you're saying, Josh, there's part of this is self-interest. Of course, he'd be happy if the government bought 20% of Bitcoin, because his bags would pump to the moon, his stock would go up, everything would be fantastic. But would the rest of us be so happy if all the Bitcoin were out of circulation? Is that the goal of this project?
Yeah, apparently to Michael. No, the thing is, it will never be. That's the thing. The world could run on one Satoshi, because we'll just create more decimal points.
I also have a problem with the kind of market stupidity that's going on here, where we think that 4 to 6 million Bitcoin could be bought without pumping the market, and that not every time the government bought $1 million of Bitcoin, they would get less and less Bitcoin every time. Not to mention, as we've talked about before, and I refuse to talk about the ridiculous idea of the Bitcoin reserve until it's here, it starts a cascading domino effect with every other country and every other company, where they're now going to be saying, well, America has 100 Bitcoin, therefore Saudi Arabia should have 150. And then Germany says, well, they've got that, we should have 200. And the same thing, IBM, Microsoft, whoever you want to say, or we could do it state by state, Missouri, California, Florida, who has the most Bitcoins in their reserve? And at a certain point, what are we doing? These states, these businesses, these companies, they're supposed to do other things. They've become infinite.
Better than having debt, though.
The goose that raised the golden egg. They're not going to do their normal chores, their normal jobs. Why even bother?
Well, the opposite side of that is that at least they're holding actual assets rather than debt. Because right now, all they're doing is creating debt, selling government bonds, and holding debt.
But if they were buying Apple stock, it would still be ridiculous, right? It'd be like, your job as a government, be a government. Why are you now choosing what a good investment is? Even if we're Bitcoiners, we like the investment. Saylor owns a bunch. He obviously wants the thing to go up to pump his bags. But if we were, anybody else, and they were like, well, we're going to put all the government money into pork futures. And you're like, I don't necessarily like pork. I'm not sure about that investment. Should the government really be making our portfolio? Especially now, we're seeing this on a state level, and I see it celebrated by Bitcoin Magazine. Oh, Oklahoma is buying Bitcoin. I'm like, shouldn't they be doing, funds for their services for their people? Like, the people gave you the money. Now you spend the money, you try to improve things, not the people give you the money so that you, the government, then could hold money and invest it and try to make more money. That doesn't seem like the job of the government.
Yeah, well, the people don't even give it. The government prints it out of nowhere and puts the people into debt so they can buy Bitcoin. I mean, maybe that's a good strategy.
Well, and maybe that made sense when they were, to buy a road or to improve the society so that we can make more commerce or something like that. How would buying Bitcoin, other than, we think it's a great investment, Saylor thinks it's a great investment, it's not. It just kind of upside downs what the difference between the government and a corporation is. A corporation is out there just to make great investments, which is why I've said that there's no reason to have any other corporations until they fix this with laws, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon, where if you're a corporation that's making widgets, that's employing people, you're wasting your time and your money. The clear answer here is that Michael Saylor, and like Ben was saying, who are all these people working for MicroStrategy when the only strategy is buy Bitcoin? So they watched a bad Bitcoin episode from 10 years ago, and they're like, well, we'll just do that. and fire everyone else. Like, how many people does it take to run MicroStrategy? Well, one, right? It takes a captain. It's just one captain. Like, and the whole thing for all this, Apple, Tesla, whoever you are, why are you bothering wasting your time making widgets, which you make a 10% or 5%? They don't make big money when they could make 200 or 500% on their Bitcoin. Like, the whole point of doing anything. And again, we're talking about catnip here. We're talking about infinite jest, talking about all these things. Like, why bother doing anything?
Yeah, and it's Schrodinger's. I mean, Starship. Who said it here? Oh yeah, Formula. Formula said, "I hope governments make it illegal because black market BTC will be so much more valuable."
I do eventually think we'll go there, that we will go to illegal Bitcoin, and we're going to roll back all of this.
Cool again, then.
That'll make
this is the death row why they try and control Bitcoin, because they realize it's too big to shut down. So now they're just going to try and control it. So what's the best way you control it? Well, you buy loads of it, and then you get 20% of it. I'm not pointing fingers at Saylor or MicroStrategy or whatever, but again, to this guy who's relatively new, I'm not sure we should take him at face value as to what he's saying and what his intentions are. There's all sorts of interests now involved in Bitcoin which weren't there before, and there's all sorts of actors which weren't there before, and all of them we should be suspicious of, especially if they're saying that the US should be buying up 20% of the world's Bitcoin. It's a terrible idea. That shouldn't happen. But it's the death rattle of them realizing that this thing's out the bag. They can't take it down. They were too late trying to. They probably could have really screwed it up earlier on, but they were too late, and it's too big to control now. So now they just try and control it. No, too big to get rid of now. So now they're going to try and control it. And I don't trust any of them. Slippery sausages.
Well, we'll have to see how it goes, and we'll continue covering the story in the future. We have just a few more stories, and we're headed to the end of the show. I just want to give a shout out to Fold. According to Bitcoin Magazine, Fold has become the first Bitcoin-only financial service company to go public on the NASDAQ, and that they already have 1,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Fold has been a classic Bitcoin company since I was at Purse. They were out of the Draper University startup factory over there. I got to meet some of those guys sometimes, and they give you a discount on your Bitcoin purchases at Fold. And now I think they have a credit card that you can use, and you can get some of your money back in Bitcoin through Fold. So this is obviously a major accomplishment for them to go onto the NASDAQ. So just a shout out to Fold, and I hope they're doing well. It sounds like an incredible accomplishment for their company. And a sad commentary on Purse. But oh well, we had what we had. We also have Ben Ark here, and we wanted to say congratulations to Ben Ark. 5 years and 8.5 thousand commits later, they are launching LNbits out of beta and releasing version 1.0 in just a few weeks. They've got a visualization here of the contributors. Many free and open source developers contributed to LNbits. It now has an exchange rate tracker that aggregates data from multiple sources for fiat pricing. Ben Ark, while you're here, shout out to LNbits. Congratulations on version 1.0. What can you tell the people more about the release and what's going on at LNbits?
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. Well, I mean, it kind of came out of this show, didn't it? It came out of the World Crypto Network. LNbits as a project. We wouldn't have gotten anywhere if it wasn't for the World Crypto Network. Yeah, we've been very lucky to have lots of great developers come on board onto the project. And then it was since El Salvador started accepting Bitcoin, we realized, and IBEX were using LNbits to offer products, but it was like proper beta software and buggy. And we realized we needed to kind of get it to version 1. And it took us a few years, but we're finally here. And we didn't want to, I think a lot of projects, it's tempting to come out of version 1 because it signals to everybody, okay, you can use this thing, it's safe. But we didn't want to do that until we actually felt confident that it was, So a lot of work has gone on. There's been a huge refactor by DNI, Vladstan, Tal, Stick, and then all the contributors in our Telegram groups, and then all the other contributors just contributing little bits of code here and there. All these little things you're seeing moving around on the screen, they're all people contributing to different files and folders and whatever else in LNbits. When you saw the thing kind of pop out, then that's when we pulled out all the extensions. They all became their own. Yeah, if you scroll back, that's when all the extensions were packaged in with LN bits, and then they go pop, and they all become their own little projects with people contributing to them. So I made this like little visualization last week, and it was very satisfying to do. It's great. Yeah, so it's a much smoother UI, much smoother UX experience. We have a bunch of admin tools such as the exchange tracker. We also have an amazing user area, so you can manage, if you're running LM bits for other people, you can manage your users. We have a bunch of charts and statistics, and you can check out like, you know, what type of requests are happening on your server. And then we have a bunch of new extensions, fun extensions for people to play around with. And with this version 1, we're also going to be releasing a bunch of paid extensions, which is really exciting because it's a way, because of the huge refactor, it's now much easier to make an extension. So I could make an extension in a day, and then I could put it up on the marketplace, and then people could pay to install that extension. So me as a developer, I could get little dribbles of sats coming in from people installing my extension. So it's a huge incentive. We've got someone at the moment working on a chat extension, like a Nostr chat extension, so you can talk within your LM bits installed to each other, to the different users and the admin. Traditionally, maybe we would have offered them a bounty, but this guy, he's just going to sell the extension for like 1,000 sats or whatever, or 500 sats, and then enough people will install it that he's then incentivized. It's a little sweetener to get people building extensions, and he just builds out the functionality of LM bits. And yeah, it's great. It's been a lot of fun. It's very grueling and tiring. Haven't slept much in the past couple of months. Didn't have much of a Christmas, but it's worth it to get the project to version 1, so people can actually use it in production. We're confident for them to use it in production. So yeah, probably a couple of weeks until we get there.
Well, that's fantastic, Ben. And where can people check out LN Bits?
If you're interested in learning about it, the LN Bits YouTube, I'll be throwing up a whole bunch of videos on there on how to install it, because we've made the install process a lot easier now as well. You can go to lnbits.com. If you, there's a LN Bits Telegram group, which is pretty good. Well, it's very good, in fact. But yeah, if you just want to learn about it, like the LN Bits YouTube, just like search for LN Bits on YouTube. Then there's a bunch of resources in there showing different extensions and what they do. But it's nice when you see projects and they survive, because quite often in Bitcoin, I think we have a tendency to like hop onto the next kind of protocol. And we've always just kind of stuck with Lightning. This is how we're going to do payments. It works. It's fast. We're going to make Lightning easier to use. Oh, so there's some great stuff. So like at the moment, I'm running my own version of version 1, or my own LN Bits version 1. I'm running it on my own server, and I'm using Phoenix D. And for people who don't know what Phoenix D is, it's a managed Lightning node, but it's self-custodial. So you have the keys yourself. They can't steal your funds, but they manage the channel balancing and liquidity, which means you don't have to faff around with channels. So that's a really nice solution for if you're onboarding someone and you want them to, you don't want to be a custodian of their funds, you want to give them a non-custodial experience, but you don't want them to have to learn all about how to run a Lightning node and set up channels and stuff. So there's Greenlight, which do that. There's Phoenix D, which does that, and we've added those funding sources to all the LN Bits funding sources. So it just makes the software a million times easier to run. It's like if you want to install it on your own VPS, it's like 5 lines of code or something. And then we'll update our like software as a service, so it'll have that packaged in with it pretty much as soon as we've got version 1 out. So a lot to look forward to. But yeah, check in on the project over the next couple of weeks, and check on the YouTube, because I'm going to be chucking up a whole bunch of videos on there. And yeah, thanks Thomas. Thanks for the platform. This platform where, I mean, it's you make something and it's cool, but getting other people to engage with it and start contributing to it, the only way you can do that is by reaching out to the wider Bitcoin community. And I was lucky enough at the time that I just started doing some stuff with you, and I was able to post things on WCN, and then people saw it, and that was a big driver for getting those first contributors into the project. So no, it's that's why this platform's so important.
Well, it is amazing, Ben, seeing all the different contributors in that graph all coming in and out, and seeing the code develop.
Mad, isn't it?
It's really cool to see it. And again, it's why It's why you want to do things on the internet. It's why you want to do software. You want those many hands to come in and those heroes that you don't know to contribute. And it's also a great thing to think someone could come in, fix a couple things, move on to another project, go back to their normal work. Just how many hands do make light work, especially when you see it in that graph.
Yeah, totally. There was someone who reached out and they were like, they'd only put in one commit, but they managed to find the little guy. It was like from a year ago. They put in one commit, and it was like, I think it was their first commit they'd ever done to a project or something. He managed to find himself in the video. It was like, there's me, and I was like, nice, well done. But yeah, we got legit contributors. I'm like Gavin Andreessen and Alan Bitts. I'm like the dumbest one in the room, which is a very nice feeling because it means it's all grown up.
And I love the idea that you could just put out the initial software and, it's not that good, but it's a roadmap of where to go. And all these better programmers could then come in and fix this and fix that and fix that. And it's a really cool idea.
Thank God they did.
All right, let's go to Josh Shigala for a prediction or story of the week. Go ahead, Josh.
I just want to say congratulations to Ben. Like it's really one of the hardest things is inspiring other people to come along and work with you on something so cool. So big ups, and it's hard to stick to something for so long. I've done the same with 2 projects with Voltoro, and then we ended up selling that, and now I've been working on the standard for the last 4.5 years and or 4 years or whatever it's been. And yeah, it's tricky, it's and there's so many ups and downs, and you're giving your own money away to try and work this thing out, and you're trying to raise money, and it's hard. So it's the hardest thing in the world to build a startup. So we've been working really hard. We've come and check us out. We're totally non-custodial. You sign every message with MetaMask. It isn't on Bitcoin. It is on an EVM, but it's all non-custodial. So we wanted to take away lending and borrowing away from centralized authorities like Celsius and all that crap, and BlockFi and FTX and all this nonsense, and make everything on chain. And that's what we've done. So every aspect, you can earn a yield on your crypto, on your tokens, on your EVM, Link and ARB and wrapped Bitcoin. We even have Pax Gold in there, and you can put them into automated market making strategies that use Uniswap to earn a yield, and then you can still borrow against that value. So while it's earning a yield, it'll earn. You can go and borrow for 0% interest. We're thinking of maybe modifying the 0% interest thing, because what's happening is that everyone's like, oh, free money, and they just keep borrowing and dumping. And so we're thinking of having like a 3-month 0%. And then after that, there is an interest to get people to pay back their debt as well to themselves, because right now there's hardly anyone ever paying back their debt. They just sort of borrow, and then because within the standard, they can still trade. If you've got wrapped Bitcoin and you want some ETH, or you've got some ETH and you want some wrapped Bitcoin, you can still do that even though you've borrowed against it within the protocol. So there's no real need to ever pay back your debt, and so we need people to bring liquidity back in. So we are thinking about that. If you are interested, or you have a point of view and you love economic theory and love tinkering, come and join us on our Discord and chat. It's a great community, and it's fun, and it's definitely very passionate people there building stuff that is really cool.
Very cool, Josh. You can check it out at thestandard.io. Just want to thank everybody.
Sorry, I can't believe it's 4 years. That's amazing.
I know.
We could have been just shitcoining all that time, Josh. We'd be...
could have just launched 15 million meme coins.
Rather than all the sleepless nights.
We could have just bought Bitcoin with other people's money, like Michael Saylor.
Yeah. And just ride off the back of all our blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, or other people's blood, sweat, and tears. There we are. We picked the wrong path, but there we are. We're getting it done.
It does seem a lot easier. It does seem a lot easier. I just want to thank everybody for joining us and giving us a thumbs up down below. I don't have that much more to say today. I got a new chair. I built it myself.
Ooh.
That's about it. So, but it wasn't that much. It was I put it together myself. So I use tools, advanced technology. But that's about it for this week. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Push subscribe down below, and I need to do it slower this time so it catches it. So until next time, bye bye.
Bye.